welcome. Why don't you start by introducing yourself? Just let me know your name, your title, and the organization that you represent.
Sure. My name is Jason Macaleer. I represent an organization called Transcarent, and I'm the Chief Commercial Officer.
That's great. Well, welcome to HITLAB's 2023 Summit. Is this your first summit, or have you been to others in the
This
past?
is my first. Hopefully it won't be my last. Very exciting and happy to be here. Very impressed.
That's great. So what drew you to come to the summit this year, and how do you think it's benefited, I know it's only the first day, but
Yeah.
how do you think it's benefited you and the other people who attend?
Yeah, it's been great. I think you guys have done a great job sort of aggregating people and thought leaders from different parts of the healthcare sort of ecosystem or spectrum. You've got provider representation here, you've got the payer representation here, and then you've got kind of the employer or digital health representation here. So I think you guys have done a great job. It's been fun to be around different thought leaders and hear different perspectives and approaches. So it's been a great first day.
That's great. Well, it's great to have you here.
Yeah.
So do you mind talking to me a little bit about Transcarent?
Yeah.
What do you guys do? What's your
Yeah.
mission? Tell me everything.
Sure, yeah. So Transcarent's premise is fairly simple. What we try to do is directly connect people with high quality, affordable care. And there's no caveat to that. There's a lot of companies out here that's like, well, within the chronic care space or within the maternity space or within the, we just want to do that up front and be very good at that. And so we've got a somewhat complex business model, but at the end of the day, what we're focused on are serving the employees and employers who represent almost half of the country's pay spend when it comes to healthcare.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how are you guys focusing on getting accessible care to patients who need it, and how getting them connected with physicians is benefiting them in the long term?
It's a good question. So we've got a couple different solves for the access piece, but the first is we actually have our own team of employed physicians, and we can deploy them in a bunch of different ways, but the most common is in a virtual setting, and that's the great equalizer for access. Now, not everything can be delivered virtually, and so that's where we have another kind of differentiator, which is we go out and we directly contract with providers and facilities around the country to make sure that we can deliver that affordability piece and the access piece in a direct way. So there's no reason to ever kind of leave the Transcarent ecosystem, whether you're talking about virtual care or traditional brick and mortar care. We can do both from an access and affordability piece really well.
That's great, and really streamline the process for both patients and physicians.
That's the idea.
Yeah,
You got
that's
it. Yep,
awesome.
yep.
So how long have you been working in the digital health field?
Since 2014 is when I kind of really got my start in digital health with a company called Livongo, which was acquired by Teladoc in 2020. And so I stuck around Teladoc for a couple of years. I joined Transcarent just shy of a year ago, but I kind of came up in healthcare. I was a management consultant in the healthcare vertical for one of the big consulting firms, and then I was focused on kind of the provider side, working the EMR and population health boom that kind of came up in the early 2010s.
Yeah. So since 2014, when you first got involved, how have you seen the market change from 2014 to 2020 and then after the pandemic? And further from that, do you see or predict anything changing drastically in the future in the next 5 or 10 years?
I hope so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the big observation I've had has just been the proliferation of point solutions, specifically in the employer space where Transcarent tends to operate mostly. But it's true across the provider space and the payer space, but really sort of recognizable in the employer space. And I think you've seen a lot of really good solutions that serve really small pockets or cohorts of people. And so I think the trend is going to be consolidation. How do we consolidate more of these really good point solutions into a single experience? And then obviously efficacy, kind of outcomes and cost savings is going to be a big scrutinizer. It'll be the great equalizer, I think, where if you can't truly bend the cost curve for total cost of care, I think that you're going to be sort of ripe for disruption or acquisition.
Yeah, that's great. So going back to Transcarent for a minute, have you noticed a particular field of medicine where there's a drastic gap between affordable care and like patient accessibility to physicians? Like what kind of section requires the most help from you guys is essentially what I'm asking. And how have you guys kind of pushed to benefit that?
Yeah, it's just making me think. I think there's three main buckets that I'll kind of point to. The first has been oncology. So I think really complex cancer cases, there's still that disparity. And then the cost piece is obviously paramount to that. So oncology is kind of one bucket. I will call surgery another bucket, mostly MSK related, but there's expansions of that in bariatric and neurological and things like that. But that's also one where I think there's still a gap that exists. And then the third is on the pharmacy side, which you don't see a whole lot of attention on, but just bringing more affordability, transparency into the pharmacy space to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your time at the summit, are there any particular speakers or topics that you're going to pay super close attention to that you're excited to hear about?
Yeah, there were a couple up there that,
Yeah.
that definitely piqued my curiosity. I was walking out as the gentleman from HSS was up there. They're one of our
Right.
big surgery partners. They're obviously highest quality of care that, that you can get. So I was interested in catching that one. There's certainly a few others. The Merck Global Investment Fund
Right.
with Bill, that one's interesting. And so, yeah, there's definitely some panels and sessions that I'm looking forward to hearing more about.
All right. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, answering all of my questions. I appreciate it. And good luck to you and Transcarent and the rest of your endeavors.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.